Yo, 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 what up, everybody?
Hey.
Hi.
How are we doing today?
Real name on there. Hi, I'm doing good.
Doing well. Good.
Yay. Happy,
We have
is it
Kay
Thursday?
with us.
It's Thursday, right?
It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. Happy
Oh
Tuesday.
gosh.
I know my work weeks now that I have a job. So
I saw that. How's it going?
it's going great. It's going great with an introvert like me. I mean, it's wonderful. Yeah.
Because I know that
I
you
love
were
it.
really struggling with that because you were sharing a lot of it on your TikTok.
Yeah. It was
so
a
glad
very
you were able
odd
to find
situation, but yeah, I got it. I don't like sitting at home. I don't.
Yeah.
I sit on my couch and I'm up every 5 minutes. Seriously. I can't sit still for the life of me.
Oh my gosh, that's how my husband is.
Mm-hmm.
He
It's the
can't.
ADD.
Yeah, and he does. And he's
Mhm.
got OCD with it. So everything needs to be the way that it
Yeah,
needs
same
to
here.
be. Yeah. But I feel bad because I used to pick on him a lot until I saw how much it really
Mm-hmm.
it'll ruin his entire day if it's not done correctly. And then I felt so horrible. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm really sorry. I'll never pick on you again. Thanks, Amy.
That's why I'm in my rocking chair so I can rock.
So,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks, AFTC. I appreciate it.
You do. You look lovely tonight. Stunning.
Thank
Christy
you.
does too. Christy does too.
Yes, Christy does too.
Okay, what got you? I'm sorry, I'm bad with the name, so I'll probably just call you Kay because that's what I know
Yeah.
you from TikTok. So I apologize in advance for that. But
I didn't realize I put my real name up there, but well, that's okay.
We can change it for you.
Oh, can you? Yeah, could
Yeah.
you please?
Yeah, we can.
Everybody's probably jotting it down right now.
Just like Kayymoe. I
Yeah.
just put you in there as Kayymoe.
yeah, 2 E's.
If any of you go and do anything,
Well,
it's
it's
coming
too
for
easy
you.
because I was banned before. So
Oh yeah, the good old
Mhm.
band.
yeah.
So what got you on TikTok?
What got me on? COVID. Because
COVID.
I was with my company, which is a medical billing company, a major one, and I was there for 16 years.
Wow.
And out of 1,000 employees, they let 50 of us go. Reduction of force due to COVID, which is bullshit. So,
Which is when all the medical billing was happening.
yeah.
You think that they would have
Yeah,
needed
I
you
was-
more?
We got a
I was-
pandemic, so we're gonna lay off medical staff. It makes sense.
In the middle of it, I was reconciling $14 million in stimulus that went towards the doctors in the United States.
That's a lot.
And right in the middle of reconciling it, boom, they got rid of everybody that was there 15 years or more.
Oh wow.
Because we were the highest paying ones.
Yeah, that's usually what it is. Unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all about the numbers for them.
Yeah.
So
Loyalty doesn't mean anything.
Did you start out creating content, or did you just start out scrolling?
Just scrolling. My daughter was on it, so I'm like, hey, what's this? And so I just started. I was sitting in the firework booth, helping my son do some fundraising for his band class, and she was on TikTok, and I'm like, what's that? And so she showed me how to do it, and I just carried it on from there. And then I saw Kat, started following her, and I've been following her, seeing her get banned left and right, and then see her get back up, and I follow her again, and then I saw you, Texan. I started following you, so yeah.
Because of me, Tex.
She didn't say that. She said she found me. She didn't say through
How
you.
else would she have found you?
I was bigger than you this whole time.
So yeah.
I carry you.
You clout chased me.
A little bit. I know, a little bit.
So, what made you start like from going from scrolling to actual content?
Content was, well, I was doing a lot of political content on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
So, and then I started getting banned on Facebook. So
Yep.
I was doing a lot of lives on Facebook for lives to all the rallies and protests that I would go to. Because I don't know if you see on my page, I have a playlist of Ben Bergquam. I don't know if you know who he is or not.
Mm-mm.
But he's an activist, and he's more so towards the borders, like the Texas border, Arizona border, California border. Well, right now he's with Real America's Voices. It's a news channel.
Okay.
And so he's with them doing some news, on the border type work, news work for them. So he used to live here where I used to live in California. So I would help him. And then Will Johnson is another conservative. He's a Black conservative, and he's more so with Black conservatives and talking with the Black community. So they would always get together, and I would help them set up the rallies here in my area. Whenever they came down to my area, they would always contact me. And so, I did all that on Facebook a lot with the rallies and the protests and stuff. So, and I was with Ben Bergquam in Berkeley in 2017 when all that went down with Antifa. So, and he got banged over the head really good and had to go to the hospital. Ben Bergquam did, and had to go to the hospital to get stitches. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. I've been to a few of those with Antifa. Man, let me tell you what, they're
just an idea.
Huh?
Just an idea, right?
The irony of the whole thing is like they're all supposed to be anti-fascist, yet then they become fascist by shutting everybody down because of their difference of opinion with this fascism. But that's
well, when I went to the one in Berkeley in 2000, I think it was 2018, I went, and BLM was there too. But this time the police were really heavy around in Berkeley over there. And we went there to, it was like a no hate rally and no more hate rally. So we were there. I was there with Ben Bergquam and Will Johnson and Antifa. I was wearing Trump is your president shirt. And we had to literally walk around because just walking around in the neighborhood, I was getting harassed. I mean, I was getting spat on. It was just absolutely crazy. I was getting all kinds of death threats and stuff. So my husband said, let's just walk around all this. And then in the middle of the street, literally, I mean, this is not an exaggeration. There was at least, I would say, between 100 to 150 Antifa members marching line by line in the streets, chanting, wearing black masks, just chanting. And it was just absolutely crazy. And then it's absolutely. And here we're being peaceful, and we're trying to talk about peace and just stop this nonsense. But all they do is they get up in your face and they just start screaming at you, just chanting, screaming, chanting. It was just crazy. So I just started all that, and I started that on Facebook, and then I just kind of ventured off into TikTok and just started doing political stuff. And I just do a little bit of everything now, So.
Yeah, unfortunately, you've had to take up for Kat and I a couple times.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's never a dull moment.
Kind of a big mouth.
We make sure TikTok's fun at least.
Right? It's never a dull moment. I'm telling you.
I like to keep it spicy. I like to keep it interesting. Keep people.
So you do a lot of work locally then.
Yeah, I do. I'm involved with my local Patriot group. I go to a lot of rallies and a lot of rallies. I go to a lot of rallies at my son's school. After my son was shot, he did a rally to protect our Second Amendment rights around the school. And he was shot after the Parkland shooting, the day after the Parkland shooting.
Can you tell us about that?
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with that?
No, I'm fine. And my boys, and even my daughter, and I'm not saying it because they're my kids, I have great kids. I mean, they're respectful. There's not a day that goes by that I don't get a thank you from them. I'll do their laundry, thank you. I'll make their food, thank you. Can you help me with this thing? I mean, they constantly thanked me. And one day, it was February 15th, the day after the Parkland shooting. I was working overtime at the medical billing place. And I was working a lot of overtime because 2 of the supervisors were out on vacation. So I was, working 12-hour shifts. And we all have trackers on our phones.
Uh-huh.
And mainly because I was an addict at the time. So my husband wanted to keep track of where I was going.
Yeah.
So my son had called me, and I saw that he called, but I couldn't answer the phone. So I went, after I was done, I tried to call him, but he wasn't picking up. So then I went to go pick up something to eat. And I got home, and I said, food's here. And 2 of my boys come running. And the first one that's always out for food is my oldest son. And he wasn't coming to get his food. And I'm like, okay, where's so-and-so, So my husband, I went to my husband and I said, where's so-and-so? And he's like, he went with a couple of his friends. And I'm like, oh, well, we all have trackers on our phone, and the tracker will last track you where you were at if your phone dies.
Right.
Okay.
So when I looked, I'm like, oh my God, he's at that park. Well, 5 years earlier, there was a kid that was stabbed to death there at that park. So I immediately started panicking out. So my husband, I said, no, he's at that park. Well, my husband's phone rang. And when his phone rang, he answered, and it was so loud I could hear the other person talking on the phone. He goes, hi, are you so-and-so's dad? He's like, yeah. He's like, well, he's been shot. So I heard that, and I immediately started screaming and yelling. And because my brother years and years ago was shot and killed on my birthday.
Oh my gosh.
So when this happened, I just immediately panicked out. I left my other 2 boys in the room. I fell, running down the hallway. I went with no shoes, ran into the car. The park is only like 2 blocks or 2 minutes away. Went over there. And there were like tons of police cars and ambulance. I mean, there were 2 ambulances. It was just crazy. And I'm like, where's my son? Where's my son? And they said, oh, he's okay. He was shot. I go, where was he shot? He goes, well, he was shot in the face. And I'm like, and he's okay? That's what they said about my brother, and he's dead. So they said, no, he's okay. And I was like really upset. So we got in the car, and we headed towards the hospital, and my hand going towards the hospital was on the car door, because I'm like, I know he's not okay, because that's what they said about my brother.
Yeah.
So I came close of opening up that door and just ending it. So at that time, I'm like, no, I need to call my friend. Well, she prayed over me, and she prayed and come out that he was okay. I mean, he was shot right here. They knocked out 4 of his teeth. And then he was shot with a .22 hollow point.
I was gonna say it must have been a small caliber.
Yeah, it was a 22, but it shattered. It just
Yeah.
shattered all underneath his tongue. He swallowed some of the shrapnel.
Oh.
They took they took X-rays of that. His stomach was fine. They shot him. They found 9 shell casings, and one they hit him in the back, which one is still back there. It's just shattered in his lower back, and then an entrance and exit wound on his hip, and then he got a graze on his arm, and then one right here. So he had extensive oral surgery to get all that shrapnel out and everything. And then they had to do last year. They had to finish the bone grafting, so he could get it, because he's eventually going to get implants. But we're waiting for authorization from victims of violent crime, because they're the ones that are going to be paying for it.
Yeah.
But what had happened is that he went to the park and he noticed that his phone died, because he was there with a couple of his friends, and his friends just went on home. And he says, no, it's okay. I'll just wait here for my mom, because she knows where I'm at because of the tracker, and she'll just come pick me up. And when he was sitting there, he saw 3 guys in black hoodies come out of a van, huddle underneath a tree. And he said, Mom, he goes, I felt uneasy. I felt uncomfortable about it. So he says he nonchalantly got up, grabbed his backpack, threw it over his shoulders. He didn't want to pay attention to his phone because he figured that would make them nervous. And so when he started walking, got 3/4 of the way through the park, and then he heard footsteps behind him. And when he turned around, that's when the guy did the first shot. He turned around and he started running, and then pow, 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 pow. And then they got him a few more times. And the police officer and the doctor said if he didn't have that backpack, he would have been dead. He says they were looking to kill him.
Did he know who they were?
No.
It was just a random shooting.
Just a random. What the detective said is that there's a lot of drug drop-offs in the area.
Okay.
And when around this area, a lot of them will carry their dope in the backpacks. So they were probably looking to rob him, kill him, and just take him and take his backpack and rob him. But yeah, and once they just started, he couldn't tell. It was kind of dark because it happened in February, and it was at 6:45 when he got shot. So he couldn't tell anything. He couldn't tell if they were black, white, whatever. But he got a really good description of the car because he's a car kid. He loves cars.
Right.
So, and this is the kind of kid my boys are, and my son. He was trying to flag for help. People would still go by. And this one lady pulled over, and she had a child in the back of the car. He said around probably about 4 or 5 years old. And he's like bleeding really bad in the face because he was shot right here. Well, the little girl started crying. I mean, she was screaming. The lady got out of the car, and he's like, let me help you. He goes, no, go home. Your little girl is crying. And she goes, no, let me help you. You need help. And so he goes, Mom, I had to be mean to her. And he goes, no, get out of here. Go. And he goes, your little girl is crying, and I'm scaring her. She's going to have nightmares. Just please go.
Oh.
So that's the kind of kid. He was more concerned about that little girl than himself. And so she didn't help him. She just waved somebody else, and then she left. So I'm like, that's the kind of kid, that's the kind of boys my kids are,
How old was he when that happened?
He was 14.
Oh my gosh.
He wasn't good kid in school, just really, he's our gentle, wrong place.
I mean, unfortunately.
And it's a cold case.
Still out there advocating for
and then
rights.
And then in May, well, they had the rallies at the school, remember, for gun safety and whatever for the Parkland school. Well, I'm with the Tea Party, and the Tea Party heard what happened to my son, and they said, "Hey, how would you like to hold a rally? If your son would like to hold a rally to protect our Second Amendment rights at the school."
Yeah.
So I brought it to my son. He's like, "Heck yeah." So he gathered up students. He did it all himself. We got T-shirts, saying "Walk out on the 2nd." And I got a lot of flack from the principal saying, there's going to be consequences. I said, I don't think so. Because if you didn't give those 200 students consequences,
yep,
I'll be damned if you give my son a consequence. Yep. He's protecting our Second Amendment rights. And he has a right.
He does have a right, and his voice is really important because he's been a victim of a gun crime, and those are the situations that they try to use and exploit to remove our Second Amendment. So his voice is more powerful than most with that.
Yeah. So he gathered, there were a total, I think, like 10 students. They all got their "Don't Tread on Me" flags. They got their signs. They got, and there, we got some flack from people, but majority of them are like, right on, they were honking at us, and it was only for 15 minutes. Don't mark him late because he was in class. He's leaving just for a few minutes, and he'll go back to class. Simple as that. So I went rounds with the principal, and the principal just dropped it, and he said, okay.
Good for you.
So,
I can't imagine. I mean, for that horror to go through, I mean, that's. But this, like, people like your son and yourself are why anti-Second Amendment probably don't like you guys. Because you are a victim of violent crime, of a gun crime, and you still advocate for Second Amendment. And they got, I mean, it's kind of like Cat with abortion, right? And they hate those kind of people. And but for us, on our side of things, we love that because it shows that, like, one, maturity, obviously, and two, that, like, it's not the gun.
Right.
It's never been. I mean, had they had a different caliber, a higher caliber, the circumstances would have been changed big time.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just crazy that they'll use your son as a prop.
Yeah. Yeah.
If given the opportunity to. I mean.
So Bunny is wondering, like, when you encounter people who disagree with you and you explain your story, do you feel like sometimes they see it in a different light?
No.
No.
No. Not here in California, no.
Well, because you shared that story on TikTok, because you stitched one of my videos whenever you shared that story. And what did you get any hate from that from the left on TikTok?
With my son being shot and our Second Amendment. Oh yeah. I got when I posted it on when I posted the video on TikTok. No, I didn't get a lot of hate on that. I thought, when he was shot, I got a lot of hate here.
Oh.
After, I got a lot of messages.
I told you so's and
and he deserved what he got, and stuff like that, because I don't know.
14-year-old deserved what they got.
Right. Because he's probably a little thug or whatever.
But if we say something like that,
we're just
racist. And
but you're right though, Tex. They can't stand it if you've been through an experience, especially if it's like a hot topic political one, like guns or abortion or, one of like the real trigger ones. They can't stand it if you've been in that situation and you still are like, no, this like, I am that person that you're talking about. And this is how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's always like spat at a lot harder if you're someone that's actually been through it, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
They want to shut you up.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They want to shut you up.
They don't like hearing it. They don't like hearing it. Like, your son's been shot. How can you? And then my brother was also shot. He actually died.
Yeah.
You know, he was shot and killed. You know, but we still had my, and that was, 30 years ago. But I mean, had he had something to protect himself.
Right.
No, I mean, I hear it just from like basic stuff like motorcycles. Like I know people that won't ride a motorcycle because somebody they know that knew somebody that died, and it's like, people die in cars. Like, do we just give up cars? No.
Right.
People die in airplanes. Do we give up airplanes? No. Why do we give up stuff just because something tragic happens? Like,
you have had this conversation. It's this like fear of death. And a lot of people just, I don't know if they think that like we're going to find a way to live forever or what. Like, that's always my like plot twist.
Hey, death rate on everybody is 100%.
Jehovah's Witnesses believe in living forever.
Yes, they do.
And Hindus, because they believe in reincarnating.
Reincarnation.
Well, and you have see, we had a family where I grew up at. I grew up in a really small town here in Michigan, and we had a family who was Jehovah's Witness. And I was really good friends with the kids until their parents found out that they were really good friends with me. And the boy had asked me to homecoming, and his parents lost their mind.
Oh, yeah.
Could not take me to homecoming. I mean, and that's, then when I was younger, and I grew up Catholic, and I went to church every Sunday with my family. And I'm like, this is a very weird response. I'm not used to this. And he never explained why. It was just, I can't talk to you anymore. I'm really sorry. And then literally would never look at me again in school. Right. I mean, I ran into him not that long ago at a gas station when I was back home for, I had to do a Ryan Kelly fundraiser in my hometown, and I had ran into him, and he was still wouldn't acknowledge me. And so, like, are they not allowed? Like, is that like not allowed?
No, because for one thing, you are considered worldly association.
I'm considered what?
A worldly association.
Okay.
You are, and two is that if you are to go on a date, it is to be it's for the purpose of marriage.
Okay.
So solely for the purpose of marriage. There's no casual dating, and if you do date somebody, you better plan to marry that person.
But he wouldn't be able to because I'm not a part of that, right?
Sure, you can marry somebody outside of the religion, but there would be consequences. So you would be publicly reproved, or you would have restrictions within the congregation for marrying somebody outside of the organization.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And how long were you a part of that?
I was born and raised.
When did you walk away?
I walked away about 20 years ago. A little over 20 years ago, actually. So my mom and dad are the only ones that are Jehovah's Witnesses. But it is a fear-based religion. Very fear-based.
They're right up there with Mormons, right? Fear-based.
Yeah.
Because Mormons, like, the way to get you to tithe or give money is they disclose what everybody gives.
Right. Well, Jehovah's Witnesses don't disclose how much. In fact, they don't even pass the plate around or a basket around. They encourage donations.
Yes.
And there's contribution boxes throughout the kingdom halls or churches that you can put your donations in, but they don't pass the plate around, so to speak. So, I mean, that's one good thing about them. But yeah, it is a fear-based religion. Mm-hmm. Now I am considered what they call an apostate, and an apostate is somebody who talks totally against the religion and warns other people of the religion. So I am the lowest of lows, according to them.
Wow.
Now, what part of California are you in? Are you if you can
Central
say
Valley?
Okay.
I'm about a little over probably an hour and 15 minutes south of Sacramento.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think I forget where a buddy of mine's from, and he is literally blacked out of the Mormon book. Like legit,
yeah.
like him and his wife's name are blacked out because they denounce the
Right.
church and whatnot. Like they're bad. Like Mormons are bad.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as like fear goes.
Through the research that I've done, the top 3 religions that have the highest suicide rate is Muslims is first. The second one is Mormons, and the third one is
I'm kidding. What? I'm just stop. I'm kidding.
And the third one is Jehovah's Witnesses. And there's a lot of suicides from ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. I know quite a few of them.
What was like your moment where you were like, wait a minute, like this is not the way that it's supposed to be? Like I always wonder that because you were born into it, you grew up that way, so you didn't really know anything other than that. Like what was the moment that you realized that this was
I got tired of living a double life as a teenager. I was constantly living a lie to my parents. And the only reason why I got baptized in the organization was to make them happy. Yeah. It was only to make them happy. And I was 16 years old when I got baptized in the organization. I even became a regular pioneer. In other words, I had to put in 90 hours a month to go door to door and preaching to people. So
like a requirement. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because we do we have a lot in the community that I'm in. Mm-hmm. We always have like the brochures on our doors, or and anything. I'm like, we're Catholic, like that was always what I used because they would be like, oh, okay, and they would they would go to where now I'm more non-denominational.
Yeah,
it's official. Cheney is out.
Liz Cheney got primaried.
Yeah. Oh,
yay!
Good.
Oh.
Really good news.
Right on.
Sometimes there's good news with politics.
That's right.
Right?
Once in a while.
Our side of things, right? So
right.
But yeah, it's just I guess
what made you walk away?
Well, I was a single mom at the time, and I was managing some apartments that were being renovated, and part of my compensation was my apartment. Well, one of the construction guys was sleeping in his car, and because he was commuting a couple hours a day to come to work to renovate the apartments, and I saw him in the car, and I'm like, dude, I feel bad for you. Come. I have a spare bedroom. My daughter could sleep with me. Just take her room. Lay on the floor, sleep. And he was insistent he didn't want to. And I'm like, because he couldn't afford money he couldn't afford to get a hotel. Mm-hmm. And so he was just sleeping in his car and just eating out. So I'm like, no, I feel bad for you. No. So I was insistent. He goes, okay, I'll just sleep there. I'll get up and then I'll leave to go get something to eat. Well, another Jehovah's Witness couple lived in the same apartment complex as I did. Knew my parents, called my dad. Oh my dad come knocking at my door at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. Open the door and I'm like, hey, he walks in, doesn't say a word to me, walks to my daughter's room, opens the door and sees a guy laying on the floor, turns around, comes back, looks at me and says, that's all I needed to know and you know what to do. I said, okay, I didn't do anything wrong. So when he meant was, you know what to do. In other words, he wanted me to call the elders within the congregation so I could have a committee meeting with them.
What does that mean?
You have a committee with at least 3 elders. In my case, it was 5. And they discuss your wrongdoing. and the situation that happened, and they go over scriptures with you and they ask if you're repentful. And if you're repentful, then they would put you on public reproof. If you're not repentful, then they would disfellowship you from the congregation publicly.
Golly.
So I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong, but I met with 5 elders and I'm just like, okay, you know what? I'm going to let it all.
Reminds me a lot of the
smoking cigarettes. I'm celebrating Christmas with my daughter. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But that wasn't the real issue. The real issue with them was that I started questioning them about the religion. They're like, you have doubts? Like, yeah, I have doubts.
Right.
And that's what bothered them the most.
Wow.
Is because I had doubts.
I feel like everybody does, though, in any religion. Even your
Absolutely.
most devout people to their faith,
Absolutely.
You have moments of doubt. And anybody that says that they don't, I just feel like they're lying.
I agree.
Yeah.
So
that's when I'm like, screw it. I'm out of here. I'm out of here, you know? So, and then my mom and dad would have dealings with me for a little while. I was allowed to come to their house. They would watch my daughter for a little while. I wasn't allowed to eat at the same dinner table with them. I wasn't able to go shopping with my mom like I used to. And then one day my mom called me and she says, I have something I have to tell you. We have new insight that came from one of the district conventions, and that we can no longer talk to you anymore. And I'm like, wow. And that's when I fell into a really deep depression.
Well, because your parents.
Yeah. Because I lost my brother, and how can you consider your daughter dead when you lost a son? And I fell into a deeper depression. I started doing a lot of research on why they don't, the true reason of why they don't celebrate Christmas, and what is the meaning of Christmas? What does all this, yeah, it's pagan, but why do Christians celebrate this then if it's pagan?
Right.
And Kat, you would like this actually. Because the origin of Christmas, is it pagan? Yes, it's pagan. But during that time, the Christians were trying to turn the pagans into Christianity. So they were trying to turn Christmas into something positive. Well, the pagans, it was to worship the sun, the S-U-N. Well, they wanted to, because the Bible doesn't state when Jesus was really born. They knew he was born sometime in the fall. So the Christians are like, you know what? We'll take this Christmas of worshiping the sun and turning it into something positive, and convert them into Christians. So the bulbs on the tree represents different planets.
What?
The Christmas lights represents the stars. So I'm like, oh,
I'm gonna have this is a rabbit hole I need to go down. This is up my alley.
Right, I know. That's why I'm like, oh, you like this. You'll appreciate this.
And I just find religion in itself like extraordinarily fascinating. Like, I'm a religious tourist.
Yeah.
I can't ever seem to. I love all. I think they're all interesting. You know, to see the difference in like what you believe, and what does your book say, and what does your book say, and then I always hit a wall, because I'm like, has anyone tried putting them all together?
Right.
Have we tried that? What would happen if we put them all together? No one, okay, I guess no one's tried that. And I can't find any time that anyone's actually tried to do that. And I'm just curious as to how it would read out if they were all put together.
So that's why these Christians were like, we'll take this day, we'll make this as Jesus' birthday.
Right.
And we'll turn these planets, these bulbs and these Christmas lights and whatever into something good, and convert them into Christianity. So that's where they get the Christmas from. Is it pagan? Yes. But were they trying to do something good with it? Yes, they were. So, and the same with Easter. The egg represents Jesus' tomb. So all those pagan holidays, the Christians were trying to convert the pagans into Christianity. So I figured you would like the Christmas thing with this. So next time when you decorate your tree, you're just like, oh, here's Pluto.
Oh my gosh, don't get started even more.
I'm gonna get them to look like the planets this time. Like my actual Christmas tree now.
Yeah. So that's what I learned. And that's something that Jehovah's Witnesses do not teach. And they don't believe that Jesus died on a cross. So I learned all that. No. They believed he died on a stake, an upright stake.
Okay.
So, and what I learned about that was back in those times when people were nailed to the cross, they would carry the stake up to the other stake that was already standing. So they would nail the stake that they were carrying in a cross figure, nail their hands, and then hoist them up to create a cross.
Huh.
So that's what I learned. All these things that I've learned is from my own research, because I want to know, because I prayed to God, if this is a cult of some sort, you are going to make me know the truth.
Yeah.
Period. And if I'm wrong, you're going to direct me to go along with my parents and what they believe.
Right.
But I really dug into all that. And
when I think that like you hit the nail on the head with that, with, like you asked, like people don't realize that they can have those conversations with God. Like, and my favorite, I don't know if you follow her or not, and I'm actually going to reach out to her too. Red Hair Maven.
I don't think so.
She has like drawn between her and Prebz, they've really drawn me back to like religion. Like they've brought me a little bit back from where I was before. And it's being able to break it down. And she describes that where like Red Hair Maven does, where like she'll have conversations with God and she'll talk to him. And then she'll be very, very like observant over the next couple of days, things that pop up in TV shows, certain TikToks that go across her screen, because that's going to be the way that he talks back. And if you ask, am I supposed to be doing this? You're going to get an answer. It's just, are you going to like the answer that you're given?
Right. Yeah.
I like that a lot.
And what I truly believe in is that a relationship with God is only between you and him, and only he knows what's truly in your heart.
Right.
Do I cuss like a sailor? Fuck yeah, I do.
Yeah, because he made you that way. Like,
well,
this is what I've had people in the church yell at me for my TikToks before, and because of my language, and I'm like, who invented cuss words? We did.
Right.
We hear, because overseas, the C word that everybody hates here in America is used as a compliment over there. So like, who's to say that they're right, we're wrong, or we're wrong, or they're right? I mean, like that. And so it's like, so we're gonna over language, like we literally made up.
We made them bad. And we made them bad, like bad words. I remember I have two cousins, because my dad was from Ireland, and our cousins came over one time, and I will just always remember this because I had pulled out a compact, the old powder compact.
Yeah.
And I was kind of putting it on before we went into the restaurant, and they were like, what are you why are you doing that in public?
Right.
And I'm like, and then we had explained that it was totally normal. And then the next thing that comes out of her mouth is she's like, oh, fuck off. I'm like, why are you doing that in public? You can't. And she's like, what, saying fuck off? I'm like, yeah, you can't just be telling people to fuck off here. That's not how it works. It's an insult over here. But over there, it's like are you serious? It's almost like saying, are you serious? Okay, fuck off.
I mean, just look at some of the words that we used to use back in the 90s that now you'll get dragged all over TikTok about for saying that, like, are simple words. I mean, Aunt and I were talking about it yesterday too. It's like some of these words, it's like in our vocabulary from growing up in the 90s and the 80s and whatnot. And so it's hard to get rid of. And so we slip all the time of saying it. And it's like, I mean, we changed. I mean, we see they're changing the definition of the word definition. So they're always changing shit as it is. We can't keep up.
Like this false illusion that, like, you can't have a relationship with God and tell people to fuck off at the same time. Like, I can do both.
Yeah, you know, I do both.
I can swear, I can make mistakes because everybody does, and I can screw up, and and guess what? I can do it over and over and over again, and he still loves me. So
because in the end, they don't know where your heart's at.
No.
They don't.
I mean, if you want to even go biblical, I mean, Jesus went in and drove the tax collectors out of the church with a bullwhip and flipping over tables. Like, he had an anger issue apparently.
Yeah.
And he was perfect.
He was quite fond of the assholes and degenerates. If I'm remembering correctly, like, he liked to hang out at that table.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree, buddy. I think that in terms of language, the Lord doesn't want us to use His name in vain, and I agree.
Right.
I agree too.
And we do that with Jesus, right? When Jesus Christ.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And so my response always is, "What's He got to do with it?"
Right.
I'm just praying.
Why don't we say Bob Dole? Like, I'm just throwing out names. Like, why don't we say, "Oh, geez, Barack Obama"? Like, as
I mean, what we did. I mean, I did for a couple of years. Every time I filled up my gas tank.
Well, now I'm doing it to Biden, so touche.
Yeah, I got a lot of hate from. Oh my gosh, I got so much hate. It's not a cult. It's not that, you know. And how dare you swear? You wear that cross around your neck and you swear like that. And I'm like, oh, block.
But if there's two religions if there's two religions that I always felt like were cult-ish, was the Mormons and the Jehovah's Witnesses. And the religion that I actually probably respect the most is the Muslim faith because of how devout and disciplined they are.
Oh, I mean, extraordinarily devout.
They don't waver. Like, there's no wavering them.
Right.
And like, they're incredibly disciplined. Yes. And so that is one thing that I will say is when it comes to the Muslim faith, and then the Christians, they just go with the wind, it seems like. Sometimes.
Yeah. The Muslims are pretty solid.
They're very solid. I mean, like, it's hard. You can't, like, I was pulling up to Detroit Airport, and there was what I'm assuming was a Muslim out praying outside of the airport that worked there.
Yeah.
You don't see that with Christians. You don't see that. I mean, but the devout that they have to their faith is undeniable.
Yeah,
you know what's crazy though? I remember being younger and being in restaurants and seeing people pray in restaurants. I remember this from growing up as a kid that I would see families at restaurants and they would pray before they ate. I have not seen that in what feels like an eternity.
You'll see
same with school. They used to pray in school.
Right.
Yeah. So they do, like in Texas, they did. Like before every football game or any sporting event over the loudspeaker, they always have a student come up there and preach or pray as well. And then you'll see it's not as often as what I used to see it when I grew up in Texas. You used to see it all the time. You don't see it as often, but you do mostly. It's mostly at Chick-fil-A. I mean, just being honest,
it is the Lord's chicken.
Yes, I mean, it is like almost every time I go to Chick-fil-A, I'll see family praying.
Yeah.
But anywhere else, I never see it.
Yeah, see, I don't see it around here anymore like I used to.
Yeah.
Like any religion, really. I mean, I don't just mean like Christians praying. Like I just
but the Muslim faith will because like
they will. They don't care where they are.
Disciplined and devout, and so for me, like I've always had respect for for that faith. Just I don't necessarily believe everything in that faith, but I respect how devout they are, because you see it with Christians, right? Like my brother recently got divorced, and he's this devout Christian Bible person, and he won't have any sexual relations with a female now because it's outside of marriage, but he will with his ex-wife.
Did you just out your family?
Hell yeah, I did.
Wow. Really?
And so to me, it's like, that the justification that Christians will use at times to do certain things to justify what they want, where the Muslim faith, they're not touching that stuff. Like they're not rolling around, and they're not using any justification for everything. They're steadfast in their faith. Where like Christians tend to, use the Bible however they want to. And maybe it's just an American Christian thing. I don't know.
Or just an American thing in general.
It could be. No, it could be. And so it's just it is crazy to see, but I have seen like the Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses. I've always felt were fairly cultish, just because you can get kicked out.
Well, and it's so secretive to me, because anytime that I've tried talking to people who are Mormon, like, well, what is it that you believe? Like, what happens? Like, what happens at the end? And I'm asking these questions, and they're like run around, they don't really answer the question ever. And I'm and that always gives me like a really bad vibe. Right. Like if you can't explain to me like what you believe and what your faith is, and it's secretive like that. Yeah. Okay. It makes me a little uncomfortable. I mean, I legitimately almost joined a cult one time and didn't realize that I was. I mean,
Donald Trump.
It was the Trump. Okay. But people don't realize that it's not like there's just like these like bald guys that walk up to you and are like, do it, and you do it. Like, that's not how this happens. Right. Like I got offered this really cool like personality test, and they go through like all your trauma stuff, and it's all very supportive and very encouraging. And I loved it. Like I loved the first month. And then it was, well, you have to pay for like the next session, and you have to pay for this part. And I'm like, okay, whatever, I did one where like I paid, until I realized that like it was Scientology and I was doing a cult.
That's an actual cult.
Yeah, right. It is.
Yeah, I mean, it took me 3 months to realize that that's what was going on. And even in the beginning, but what people don't realize is like, yeah, we know all the crazy stuff about Scientology now that someone else has released it. But when you're there, it's not like they start with that. It's like they come right out and they're like, yo, there's like this alien that lives in a volcano and it's going to come and get us. Like they don't lead with that.
Right. No.
Otherwise no one would join, and they don't tell you all the rules and like the suppressive people and all of that stuff until you've paid them a little bit of money. Then they start, because it was like,
they like to tickle your ears at first.
Oh yeah. Well, that's how they get you bid in.
Yeah. That's how they get you in.
It's crazy.
That's what I had to do.
And it's really dangerous right now, because like they're going to be on the rise again. Like we're going to have a very big problem with cults like within the next year to year and a half, because cults capitalize off of communities being broken up. Right. And people wanting to feel that need for community. And I think that people are striving and feeling that need to belong to something more now than I think I've ever seen in my lifetime. Yeah. Like broken people just everywhere that feel like they don't have a place, and that's like prime time for.
That's why I liken Jehovah's Witnesses and Democrats really close together. They are very close together.
What is their typical voting pattern? Do they have one? Or?
They don't vote.
Oh, they don't vote at all.
No, they don't vote. They don't join the military, police. No.
None of that.
Wow.
No.
Is there a reason for it?
Because Jesus said, you are to be no part of the world, just as I am no part of the world. And the world meaning worldly as in bad. But
so anything that they deem bad.
Right.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Jehovah, like, isn't that where they believe that they're the select group, right?
Mm-hmm.
The chosen group that gets to like
live forever. You have 144,000 that will reign as kings and priests up in heaven.
That's what it is.
And then the great crowd will be the ones who have an earthly hope that will live forever here on paradise on earth.
Okay. But in order to do that, you can't talk to anybody. You can't
You could talk to them, but you could talk to them. But as far as associating with them, going to a party, going shopping, no. Mm-mm.
Well, I don't know. I'm thankful for people like you, though, that have that like strength to be able to walk away, and not only to be able to walk away, but to be able to share it. Because I think that's really, really important, especially now. Like I was saying, more now than ever.
Yeah.
Because I would have never, when you first told your story on TikTok, I was like, what? Her?
I didn't hear the religion part, but she stitched my video on the gun part with her son, so I knew that part. I just didn't know the religion part.
And she's got a good heart. That you do.
I try.
You do. Look at all the things.
Well, you can tell, like they always say, like you can also tell just based on your kids. In my opinion, I mean, you can tell a lot by how people are with their kids and how their kids turn out. Not 100%, obviously, because you can raise a kid in a good way and them go off the tray, but for the most part, you're a product of your environment.
But just how resilient that, like, you've stayed, like you're still able to have faith in God.
Oh yeah.
Damage your relationship with God.
What really got me to it was that, like I said, I fell into a deep depression. But when I really prayed and supplicated myself to God, I realized that my true parent, my true father, never left me. I was the one that left him.
Yep.
The people that gave birth to me was the one that left me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on them. I was angry and bitter with them, but when I prayed upon it, I realized that what they're doing, they're brainwashed, they're lost, and they're only doing what they feel is right and what they learned.
Yeah. Right.
So I can't fault them. I fault the organization. I still love my parents, and if they ever talk to me again, man, I'd be, But that's what got me through it, because my true father, the one that gave, that truly gave me life, has never left me.
No.
I just had to find my way back to him.
Sure.
And that's what I did. And a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that were born and raised in the religion, a majority of them are atheists.
Yeah, I did. I was going to bring that up. I looked that up before we came on, because I was looking up some little facts, and that was kind of shocking to me, but not really at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, when it's so fear-based, you would want to do the exact opposite of it once you were done.
Right. Yeah.
If you think that all God is this big angry Santa Claus in the sky, like getting ready just to rain down on you, unless you you'd want to go the opposite direction with it.
That's like ones who truly have a love for God, like Pribs. She reads scriptures from the Bible. She'll talk about God and whatever. But see, if my mom and dad or any Jehovah's Witness sees that, she'll be destroyed at Armageddon.
For why though?
Because she's blinded. She's in the wrong faith. She's in the Christendom part, Babylon the Great. And Babylon the Great's going to be destroyed. But here, this woman has a true love for God.
Yes.
So how can you tell me these people who truly have a love for God is going to be destroyed?
Right. When love is used more in every Bible, every Bible, than any other word.
Right. So I can buy that anymore. I just couldn't.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well, we normally ask our guests to send us out on a positive note there, Miss Thing. So do you have any words of wisdom or inspirational quotes you'd like to leave us with? On the spot or anything?
Just my thing is just never give up. Don't ever, ever, ever give up. Just, I've been an addict. I'm recovered now. I've been 3.5 years clean. Don't give up on God. Don't give up on hope. Don't give up on peace. Don't give up on love. And a lot of people that you see nowadays, they wind up giving up and going astray. You just can't give up. Keep your eye on the prize and just keep moving forward. You can't.
Can't
never give up.
Love that.
I love it.
Love that.
All right. Well, let's end on that because that was awesome. So,
thank you.
Okay, we appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
See, I told you it wasn't that bad.
Okay.
You were so nervous.
I was.
No need. We'll have you on again for sure because having a conversation with you.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that said, everybody have a good evening, and we'll see you Thursday night.
Who do we have on Thursday night?
We have Shipwreck.
We do.
Oh,
we have
okay.
on Thursday night.
Yep.
So don't forget to join us for Ship.
All right. With that said, we'll see you guys Thursday night, and y'all have a good evening.
All right. Thank you.